Chains clinked against the marble floor, echoing through the vast chamber like the ticking of a cosmic clock winding down to judgment. Commander Elira Voss walked slowly, deliberately, the manacles at her wrists and ankles gleaming beneath the harsh tribunal lights. Her back was straight despite the weight of them, her gaze fixed ahead, not once sparing a glance for the throngs of aliens who filled the gallery to watch her fall. She was no stranger to war, nor to hatred. But this was spectacle. The Intergalactic Tribunal of Zarnith had not called her here for justice. They wanted a message, a symbol, a warning. The message was, even the fiercest human could be caged. That if one refused to kneel, they would be dragged. A towering insectoid clicked its mandibles in smug approval from the raised bench. Magistrate Zorul, the High Prosecutor, exuded that oily air of certainty found only in those who had never tasted failure. The accused will stand for reading of the charges, he intoned, though Elira was already upright. She hadn't sat once since they chained her 3 days ago. You stand accused of high war crimes against the Sovereign Coalition, Zorul droned, gesturing to the holographic list that materialized beside him. Names, planets, death tolls, so many red figures blinking in neat, damning order. Illegal orbital bombardment of Threlin 4. Tactical genocide on Bari Delta. Use of neural disruption weapons banned under the Zargan Accords. And most grievous. Spare me the theater, Elira said, voice dry, calm. We both know none of that's why I'm here. A sharp hum cut through the air. 2 guards stepped forward, stun rods crackling. Zorul raised a hand, halting them with an indulgent click. Let the human speak. Her final delusions might entertain. Elira tilted her head just slightly, a sliver of defiance cutting through the solemnity. The Sovereign Coalition forged those charges after I exposed their blood trade on Kirill Station. After I turned their pirate proxies into dust. After I refused to hand over my people as tribute for your peacekeeping efforts. Murmurs rippled through the upper tiers of the gallery. Not everyone there had expected her to speak. Fewer still had expected clarity. You were offered terms, Zorul said, the silken edge of threat just beneath his words. I was offered a leash, Elira replied. I declined. A slow inhale, and then she turned her gaze, not toward her captors, but toward the gallery. They were watching, the civilians, the senators, the neutral observers. The lenses of 36 media drones blinked in red light. Elira knew how to play a battlefield. This was no different. You call this a trial, she said, voice steady, amplified now by the tribunal systems. But there's no counsel, no appeal, and no truth in what you present. This isn't justice. This is erasure. Zorul's mandibles twitched. He pressed a claw to a glowing glyph. A moment later, a large projection flickered into view, grainy footage of humans in exo-armor opening fire in a dense jungle, a structure burning behind them. This is your doing, he said. We have the evidence. Testimonies. Survivors. Elira's eyes narrowed as she studied the footage. That structure housed over 100 child soldiers trained to decapitate prisoners and use their organs as trophies. We neutralized them after negotiations failed. You edited out the prelude. Show the whole file. Silence. Zorul tapped another glyph, and the projection vanished. Irrelevant. The charges remain. Your unit's bloodlust is immaterial to the law. My unit's sacrifices kept 3 colonies from becoming harvest sites for your allies, Elira snapped. You let monsters breed, and then blame us for putting them down. From the gallery, a soft voice called, She saved my world. The speaker, a scaled, green-skinned traitor, was quickly silenced by guards. But the damage was done. The murmur began again, this time with weight. Seeds of doubt, small but dangerous. Zorul turned cold eyes toward the disruption. Order. This is not a public debate. No, Elira said. It's a performance. But I'll play my part. She took a single step forward, the chains tightening but her presence expanding like a shadow stretching beneath a rising sun. You want to call me a war criminal? Fine. Let's list every time I broke your laws. Let's speak of every treaty I spit on, every line I crossed. But let's also list the billions I saved. The fleets I stopped. The empires I humbled that no one else dared to challenge. One of the counselors, a serpentine creature with cybernetic eyes, flicked its tongue nervously.
Zorl saw it.
He felt the shift too. Enough, the magistrate growled. You will be silent until judgment is passed. Elira's voice lowered. You chained me. You paraded me. But the one thing you didn't do was bury me. And now I'm talking. Zorl gestured again. The guards moved, 2 to her left, 1 behind. Stun rods raised. Elira didn't resist. She smiled. Let the galaxies see how you treat the truth. The rods never fell. A shrill alert cut through the courtroom, an unauthorized broadcast from within. One of the clerk drones had uploaded the footage. Not the doctored video, the raw archives. The truth had already begun bleeding into the networks. Zorl froze. Eyes of every species in the gallery turned toward their data interfaces, reading, comparing, realizing. Elira looked at him calmly. You never understood humans.
We don't win by force.
We win because you think shackles make us small. They dragged her from the chamber, chains grinding against the stone. But the damage had been done. Her voice was already spreading like fire through dry fields. And somewhere in the distance, a world paused to watch the tide begin to turn. The second day of the trial began with silence, dangerous, deliberate silence. No jeers from the gallery, no ceremonial chant from the high judges. Just the distant hum of the tribunal dome's gravity engine, low and tremulous, like the breath before a storm. Elira Voss stood unshackled now, not free, but untethered. The council had agreed, reluctantly, to remove her restraints following a motion she filed using a clause buried in an ancient mutual species rights charter. A clause no human was supposed to know existed. Zorl was not amused. He leaned forward from his elevated platform, arms folded like a mantis poised to strike. You continue to insult this court with your theatrics, Commander. No, Elira replied, calm and exact. I honor it with precision. Her words, simple as they were, landed heavily. Across the gallery, observers leaned in. The projection walls shimmered to life, displaying not edited hollow footage, but real-time linguistic breakdowns, tactical logs, and raw transmissions, evidence she had demanded be entered into the record. She stepped forward, slow and measured. Not pacing, but stalking. Yesterday, you presented sensor footage from the siege of Bari Delta. A massacre, you called it. But you omitted the 6 prior distress beacons sent by the civilian council. You erased the fact that the so-called insurgents had already breached their shelters. That my team entered under fire to evacuate what was left of a slaughtered colony. Zorl pressed his claw to the console before him. Your account is hearsay. Not if the black box from our flagship corroborates every second of it. The room tensed. The black box from the Valkyrie Dawn had been classified, supposedly lost in transit. Now it hovered as a rotating hologram between them, unlocked, decrypted, and authenticated. The work of an unseen hand. Or perhaps an unexpected ally. Zorl's mandibles twitched once, twice. How did you acquire this? Truth has gravity, Elira said, even in a vacuum of power. The voice that spoke next wasn't hers. From the side of the chamber, a pale, wide-eyed Zarnith Jr. scribe stood, trembling. I uploaded it. Under Galactic Code 472.3a, which mandates the release of exonerating evidence in political tribunals. Zorl rounded on him, fury sharp enough to slice metal. You had no authority. I had legal authority, the scribe said, voice cracking but unwavering. You told us to honor the process. So I did. Gasps rippled through the audience. It wasn't that the evidence had appeared, it was that someone inside the system had chosen to follow the law. Elira didn't smile. She knew better than to celebrate a single raindrop in a desert. Enough, came the voice of Counselor Drevik, a rotund being whose translucent skin pulsed with fluctuating color. This trial has become compromise. No, Elira said, fixing Drevik with a stare. It's becoming honest. That's what scares you. Drevik's colors flickered erratically, conflict made visible. You are here to answer for your choices, not rewrite our history. Elira turned, voice quiet but resonant. History rewrites itself when the ink was blood and the quill was a lie. She knew the gallery was listening more now than ever. Not just the creatures in the dome, but the thousands tuning in across systems. She felt their eyes, their hunger, not for violence, but for something real. They had grown fat on curated truths. She offered them bone. The prosecution attempted to pivot. Another witness was called, a frail, feathered diplomat from the Trade Accord Alliance who claimed Elira had threatened an unarmed convoy. The video footage was convincing.
Polished.
Sanitized. Then Elira stepped forward and asked a single question. If the convoy was unarmed, why did it deploy orbital mines when we approached? She pulled up footage, raw, fragmented, pulled from her tactical logs. Not perfect, but damning. A scene of chaos. Explosions, plasma trails, her crew screaming orders as enemy drones detonated just meters from their hull. They weren't trade ships, she said. They were mercenaries smuggling void shards to insurgents on Tel Shirak. And we have the chemical breakdown from the debris. Embedded in your exhibit. See it for yourself. Zorwell sputtered. You manipulated the data. Elira tilted her head. Then verify it. Have the court AI cross-reference my logs with your record. If I'm lying, let the algorithm expose it. They hesitated. Everyone knew the tribunal AI could not be tampered with mid-trial. It was incorruptible, or so the architects claimed. When the AI spoke, it did so with mathematical authority. Discrepancy detected. Tribunal Exhibit 14.5 altered from original source. Integrity breach confirmed. The gallery didn't erupt. It froze. Elira let the silence breathe, let it carry her words further than shouting ever could. You accused me of war crimes. But it seems the crime was revealing yours. Zorwell leaned back, his form twitching with barely suppressed rage. You're not defending yourself. You're starting a rebellion. I'm correcting the record, she said. If it burns your empire to do so, then maybe it was built too close to the fire. Another pause. Then, a voice from the crowd, hesitant but clear. Let her speak more. And another. This isn't a trial. It's a cover-up. Voices rising. Not yet a mob, but no longer a silent audience. Zorwell slammed his claw down. Enough. This trial is adjourned until the council reconvenes in private. The lights dimmed. The recording drones cut transmission. Guards moved to escort Elira out. She went willingly, every step more assured than the last. Because in that chamber of marble and lies, for the first time since her capture, the chains were no longer on her wrists. They were cracking around the truth. The tribunal chamber pulsed with a quiet dread as the doors parted for the final session. Shadows clung to the walls like smoke that refused to clear. The High Council had reconvened, but their posture was no longer regal. It was defensive. Magistrate Zorwell's usual theatrical venom had thinned to calculation. And in the center of it all stood Elira Voss, no longer a chained defendant, but something far more dangerous, believed. She wore no armor, no insignia, just the standard black cloth of the accused, but she carried herself like a sword waiting to be drawn. The crowd watched in tense silence, thousands more tuning in through streaming pulses. This wasn't a trial anymore. It was a reckoning. Zorwell was the first to speak, his voice flattened by necessity. Under interspecies law, the accused has invoked Clause 717, trial by honor. The words rippled through the chamber like a tremor. Trial by honor had not been enacted in over a century. It was reserved for species considered equals in military and cultural stature. No human had ever claimed it. Elira's invocation had forced a procedural override, dragging the tribunal into uncharted legal territory. Counselor Drevik cleared his throat, his skin flickering in dim hues of stress. 3 accusers have been selected to represent the tribunal. Each will challenge the accused in a trial of mind, memory, and merit. The outcome is binding. Elira nodded once. Then call them forward. The first accuser approached, a luminescent being named Vaishal, known for its eidetic recall and psychic aptitude. It hovered before her, 1,000 crystalline eyes blinking as one. We begin with the trial of memory. Images surged into the air around them. Battlefields, ruins, faces of the dead. Vaishal transmitted sequences of human incursions, alien suffering, broken treaties. "Do you recognize these?" the accuser intoned. Elira didn't flinch. "I do. And I'll show you what you cut from the record." She stepped forward, allowing her neural interface to sync. The air shimmered, then shifted. The images changed same moments but from the other side. Refugees hiding behind her lines. Children evacuated under fire. Wounded enemies treated with care. Not war crimes, war cost. The full truth. The gallery leaned in as Vaishal reeled, disoriented. Its projection flickered, then fractured entirely. "The memory challenge is complete," Drevik announced, voice uncertain. The accused succeeds. The second accuser was more familiar, Zorwal himself. He stepped down from the bench, his talons scraping the floor like knives. "The trial of strategy," he said coldly. "You claim to be more than a brute. Then outmaneuver me." A tactical sim unfolded in real time, military fleets, terrain grids, diplomatic crises. Elira's fingers moved like a conductor's, shifting holographic icons, rerouting power grids, negotiating ceasefires with factions Zorwal had marked for extermination. She didn't win with brute force. She won with understanding. Zorwal tried to corner her, launching phantom fleets at weak points. She let him push. Then, like a trap sprung, she cut off his supply lines, baited his forces into a false retreat, and collapsed his central command in a sweep of 5 strategic moves. The room erupted, not with cheers, but with stunned silence. Zorwal stepped back, his authority bleeding from him like oil. The trial is complete. Elira didn't gloat. She simply turned to Drevik and waited. Only one trial remained. The third accuser was unexpected, a synthesized avatar of the tribunal AI itself. A faceless figure composed of flickering code, voice modulated across hundreds of frequencies. Final trial. Resolve. Prove your moral standing. This wasn't a battle of facts or tactics. It was judgment without weapons. The AI posed a scenario, impossible, ethically thorny. Sacrifice a colony of 5,000 to prevent a superweapon from triggering and annihilating 2 rival systems, or delay and risk trillions. Elira considered not for long. I evacuate the colony with stealth ships while hacking the superweapon's targeting logic. I don't accept the binary. The AI paused. Your solution carries a 47% chance of failure. 47 is better than certain slaughter, she said. And humans don't do certain. The avatar flickered, silent. Then it bowed. All challenges complete. Verdict pending. Before anyone could speak, Zorwal snarled and stepped forward. This farce cannot stand. She cannot be allowed to. A sharp crack echoed. Drevik had slammed his gavel, not in anger, but finality. The trial of honor has been completed. All accusers have been defeated. Zorwal froze. Elira remained still. The gallery erupted, not with outrage, but with something worse, belief. Drevik stood, his skin now a slow, glowing blue, acceptance. Commander Elira Voss, this tribunal finds you, cleared of charges. There was no applause, just a long, raw silence where power changed hands. Elira turned to Zorwal, voice low. I didn't win this because I'm human. I won because I didn't lie. As she stepped down from the platform, a guard moved to escort her. She paused, looked at him. He lowered his weapon. No longer a prisoner. No longer in chains. Outside the chamber, the crowd had grown restless, expectant. Somewhere in the galaxy, a transmission was already racing toward distant systems. Elira stepped into the light. The war wasn't over, but the first head had rolled.